Hello, and welcome to Chabot News for Thursday, May 15th, 2025. My name is Evan Neto, and today we'll be covering the Department of Education collecting student loans, fluoride being removed from the market, and Chabot's 5th annual Suicide Awareness Walk. In entertainment news, Bruce will tell you about a new solo album from a member of Pentatonix, and finally, in sports news, Julian has the latest updates on the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. All that and more coming with today's edition of Chabot News.
Craft Pizzeria offers more than handcrafted pizza. It's part of a comprehensive entertainment experience. Guests can enjoy a 4,000 square foot laser tag arena and a vibrant arcade as part of Sector 19, and a buzzing sports bar with 85-inch TVs in the restaurant. The menu features wings, calzones, sandwiches, salads, and customizable pizzas, including gluten-free and halal options. Made fresh daily, locally owned and open from 10:30 a.m. to 3:30 a.m., even on holidays. Craft Pizzeria is designed for family dinners, weekend celebrations, or just catching the game. Craft Pizzeria by Nietzsche, where food and fun come together. More at craftpizzeriabynietzsche.com or visit in person on Foothill Boulevard in Hayward.
The Department of Education is once again trying to collect federal student loans in default. This ends a pandemic-era pause that began roughly 5 years ago. More than 5 million borrowers are in default, according to the department. Ivan Rodriguez joins us with the latest and what options borrowers have.
The move comes as the Trump administration works to dismantle the education department and roll back former President Joe Biden's policies, including student loan forgiveness and forbearance. Now, millions of struggling borrowers are forced to act quickly or they might see their wages garnished. For millions of Americans, the Department of Education's announcement came with immediate confusion.
The amount that I owe is $185,000, and that is years and it's decades of interest.
46-year-old Leslie Gray says the pause on payments during the pandemic was a lifesaver, allowing her to pay off medical debt after overcoming breast cancer in 2017. That's also around the time she put her student loans in forbearance.
I haven't been able to catch up since then.
More than 5 million borrowers are in default and 4 million additional borrowers are in late-stage delinquency, which occurs after 90 days without payment, according to the Department of Education. Those could tip into default. Natalia Abrams with the nonprofit Student Debt Crisis Center says they've been inundated with calls from borrowers, many of whom aren't even in default.
This is by far the most confusing, challenging time in the student loan system.
Abrams says there are ways to know if you're in default and steps you can take to get out.
Studentaid.gov. That is going to be your North Star as a student loan borrower to see what program you're in, how far in repayment you are. If you are in default, you can look to a loan consolidation. So that restarts your loan, creates a new loan. It kind of halts that default process. Then you can look at default rehabilitation, where you can pay as little as $5 for 9 months.
It's important to remember a borrower can only rehabilitate a defaulted loan one time. Borrowers should also watch out for any scams that may deceive them with false promises of debt relief or more affordable payments. In Atlanta, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
Thanks, Ivan. People can go to the studentaid.gov site for more information. We sent our reporter Chris Dorr out to ask people what they think about student loans.
In my opinion, student loans are just very bad for young people in general. I think because like our parents have been trying to support us to go to college, and just having debt and loans in such a young age is bad for not only for your future, but just self-esteem in general.
It's unfortunate that, that students are given more money for student loans and not actual scholarship or grant money. And student loans, I would say that they've been getting really out of hand. I know that so many people can't really pay them off, but so many people do want to finish their education and do want to do something productive with their life. So I just would say that I wish that there were more programs available that could work with students to help them to actually pay them off so they won't be in debt.
They can give student loans, but they can't have loans for the students to get houses, and I don't think that's fair to, like when you're doing, they'll give a student loan real quick to a student, but they won't get a loan for a house to a student, which I don't think is fair.
Thanks, Chris. It's good to hear different people give their opinions on student loans. With the ever-increasing tuition costs for a good education, the student loan problem will persist. It remains to be seen if Congress can find a solution. Chaos unfolded in Worcester, Massachusetts, when federal immigration agents detained a Brazilian woman. The incident was caught on tape and sparked a protest from a crowd who attempted to block the agent's car from leaving. Multiple people were arrested as a result. As Rondella Richardson reports, residents and community leaders are now demanding transparency from the city.
Blood-curdling screams as ICE agents move in yesterday morning on a Brazilian family in Worcester to detain a woman.
The message for ICE is get out of our city.
My understanding that it was a mother and two daughters, one of whom had a little baby in her arms, 1 month-old baby.
Claire Schaefer Duffy, on scene, explains it escalated when a child in the group needed the bathroom.
The father had already been taken. The mother is now going to get taken and leave behind these two daughters, one of whom just had a baby. So it was a moment, a lot of anguish.
Worcester City leaders gathered this Friday to fight back, calling for a civilian review board. Mayor Joseph Petty now requesting policy from police and city managers on how the city will interact with ICE. Petty saying he is profoundly disturbed. There's no information on the identity or whereabouts of the person detained.
We don't want people who've done nothing wrong to be caught up in this.
Law enforcement arrested a juvenile daughter. Charges of assault and battery, disorderly, and spraying an unknown liquid on police came down on a protester, Ashley Spring, a candidate for school committee.
I definitely feel supported by my community here.
What happened yesterday are the behavior of heroes.
Thanks, Rondella. There should be more transparency with immigration and customs enforcement. They serve the public and should abide by the state and local government's desire for more information about immigrant health and detention statuses, as they are members of their community as well. Canada's newly elected Prime Minister Mark Carney visited the White House to meet with President Donald Trump. Carney, from Canada's Liberal Party, won his country's federal elections. Canada is among America's largest trading partners and one of its closest allies on many fronts, from national security to commerce. But President Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs in recent months have undermined that long-standing relationship. Trump put a 25% tariff in place for imported goods from Mexico and Canada that are not compliant with the United States-Mexico-Canada Free Trade Agreement, which was a deal brokered by Trump in his first term. Trump also announced 25% tariffs on all cars, steel, and aluminum in recent months, as well as a tariff on auto parts. San Francisco-based DoorDash says it has an agreement to buy British food delivery service Deliveroo. The New York Times reports the nearly $4 billion deal would give DoorDash a larger presence in Europe and the Middle East. Deliveroo serves customers in 9 countries, including France, Italy, and the United Arab Emirates. The filing for that deal outlines that both companies can invest more in products and technology, along with delivering a stronger service for Deliveroo where it operates. The sale is still subject to a shareholder vote and regulatory approval. Now we go to Bruce Malloy for this week's look at entertainment news.
A solo album from a member of the singing group Pentatonix is among the new music out now. Rick Damigella has that story and more music news in our Hollywood Minute.
A Pentatonix member flies solo. Don't worry, Kevin Olusola is still a member of the singing group, but felt the time was right for his solo debut.
I feel like after all of this time, I've realized that there are some unique qualities that I have that I want to use to spread a message of love and light, and especially to be your own misfit in this world. That's why I felt like I could only do it at a time where I feel like I understand that about myself.
That's Ricky Byrd, formerly of Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, and the song Rhapsody in Blues from his new album, NYC Made.
There's a lot of nods to music that I grew up with. I think I was reflecting on where I started as a teenager, the kind of music I listened to. And in general, I think if you try to figure out what I sound like, I'm just like a sort of a big sort of ball of everything that I listen to.
And Southern California ska band Save Ferris is back with a new single called Get Dancing.
Really, it's about going to a ska show, but it can, you know, you can use it toward any kind of music that you love, just as long as you're going to see a live show. That's really what the song's about.
Save Ferris is in the midst of a spring tour in the U.S. with more dates to follow this summer. Dancing Along in Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
It's all good, Hollywood. All that music makes me want to pull out my dancing shoes. They've worked together on Mo Better Blues, Malcolm X, He Got Game, and Inside Man. Now this pair of Oscar winners is teaming up for a 5th time. David Daniel has that and more in today's Hollywood Minute.
Can you handle the mayhem? Can you handle the money? Can you handle the success? Can you handle the failure? Can you handle the lovers? Can you handle the memes? Can you handle everything that there is in between?
Here's your first look at Denzel Washington in Spike Lee's Highest to Lowest, a reimagining of the Akira Kurosawa crime thriller High and Low. The film opens in select theaters August 22nd and streams on Apple TV Plus September 5th. Swedish hard rock band Ghost has its first Billboard #1 album. Skelleta is the first hard rock album to top the Billboard 200 in more than 4 years. AC/DC's Power Up spent 1 week at the top in late 2020.
We are the Thunderbolts! Can't call ourselves that. God, thank you.
Well, that explains the asterisk. Marvel Studios has revealed a new title and a major spoiler for Thunderbolts. The marketing for the MCU film, which debuted atop the weekend box office, now reads The New Avengers. Nick Fury was unavailable for comment. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Awesome film collaboration there. I'll definitely have to catch that flick in a theater near me. That's all for entertainment news this week. I'm Bruce Malloy. Now back to you, Evan.
Thanks, Bruce. A new poll has found that less than half of Americans don't have much confidence in federal health agencies' abilities to carry out key responsibilities. These responsibilities include ensuring the safety and effectiveness of prescription drugs and vaccines, responding to the outbreaks of infectious diseases, and acting independently of outside interests. According to the poll from KFF, nearly 60% of Americans said they have at least a fair amount of trust in the CDC and the FDA to offer reliable information about vaccines. Most respondents consider routine vaccinations, like those from measles, the flu, and pneumonia, safe. But respondents are divided along party lines when it comes to the safety of COVID-19 vaccines and mRNA vaccine technology. And respondents said their most trusted source of reliable vaccine information is healthcare providers. The Trump administration cut $2.7 billion in National Institutes of Health research funding in the first 3 months of this year. That's according to a new Senate committee report. That amount is higher than some other estimates that previously suggested targeted grant terminations affected more than $1.8 billion in NIH funding. Senator Bernie Sanders authored the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pension Committee's minority staff report. It describes the Trump administration's actions as a war on science and calls for an end to the research funding cuts. The administration has been in the midst of restructuring the Department of Health and Human Services and reviewing funding. A department spokesperson said actions taken this year, quote, prioritize research that directly affects the health of Americans. Now we go to Julian Salzate Ramirez for this week's look at sports news.
Greg Popovich, the San Antonio Spurs head coach for 29 years, addressed the media for the first time since suffering a mild stroke late last year. The 76-year-old thanked the organization and others for the support he received as he recovered. Popovich won't be coaching anymore, but he will stay with the Spurs as the team's president of basketball operations. In addition to racking up 1,422 wins during his near 3-decade reign, he also collected 5 championships with the Spurs. With the sudden retirement of NBA coaching legend Greg Popovich, we sent Lamont Lujan to interview Chabot students and Chabot basketball coach, Coach Keenan. Take it away.
What are your opinions on Greg Popovich's retirement?
I think it's pretty sad. He's like a legend, and like
I think it was super cool to see Tim Duncan and like Tony Parker helping him out to do his retirement speech. And it's kind of like, that like meme of the Ninja Turtles walking Master Sensei. It kind of felt like that moment of like, and also like Steve Kerr, who's the Warriors coach. And I love the Warriors, and Warriors have had their success because of Steve Kerr, and Steve Kerr has his success as a coach because of Greg Popovich. So I think like the Warriors don't have those rings without Greg Popovich. I think Kerr doesn't have the coaching he does without Greg Popovich. So I love him. He's a legend. Even though I hate the Spurs, Greg Popovich is a legend and a GOAT. So yeah, that's what I think.
All right. What are your opinions on Greg Popovich's retirement?
Yes, my name is Jaden Gomez.
You want to answer the question, gang?
My thoughts on his retirement. It's actually very sad to see. He was a monumental coach. He coached the Spurs for a very long time. And when he had a stroke, that was very sad to see. He coached so well. And, he had a stroke and retired doing what he loved. It's very sad to see him go. I'm very, excited to see who they replace with him.
So what are your reactions to Greg Popovich's retirement?
Wow. Great question. So I was just down in San Antonio for the Final Four a couple months ago, and I had a chance to tour the San Antonio Spurs facility and meet the actual general manager of the team. And so it's a shock to see him retire this way, but he has been dealing with some health issues, and his legacy is tremendous. Multiple championships, multiple Hall of Famers, and really put San Antonio on the map. So I wish him well in his retirement, and he's done a lot for the NBA. So just wish him the best.
How do you think Greg Popovich impacted the game of basketball?
He had a traditional style to his play. So, he had a traditional point guard, traditional bigs. Fundamentally, they play team basketball. So the new day and age is a little different now. He had more of an old school mentality. So he kind of transcended the old school game to the kind of new school game, but still stayed as more of a fundamentalist on how the game should be played, more team cohesion in comparison to now. So he did a lot.
Thanks, Lamont. And special thanks to Coach Keenan for letting us borrow your time. It's time for round 7 of the 2025 Formula One season. The Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix is here, starting on May 16th and ending on May 18th. After McLaren's blowout 1-2 win in Miami, they are now over 100 points clear of Mercedes and in the lead of the Constructors' Championship. Reigning champion Max Verstappen is hoping for a better race after starting on pole, finishing in 4th place in Miami. He is currently in 3rd place for the Drivers' Championship, behind the 2 McLaren drivers. This will be a Grand Prix of many firsts, such as Franco Colapinto's first race with Alpine after replacing the Australian rookie Jack Doohan, Flavio Briatore's first Grand Prix as Alpine team principal after Oliver Oakes resigned earlier this month. And this will be the first European circuit of the 2025 season. Will be the first race of this triple header, followed by the iconic Monaco Grand Prix and ending with the Spanish Grand Prix on May 30th. That's all for Sports News this week. I'm Julian Saldate. Now back to you, Evan.
Thanks, Julian. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, better known as NOAA, will retire its database that keeps track of the nation's billion-dollar weather and climate disasters. The agency said the database and other products are being shuttered largely because of staffing reductions by the Trump administration. But it could have ripple effects for the nation's scientists and the safety of the public. Evan Krugel reports.
Some storms aren't just measured by the size of what falls.
Tennis ball size hail in Wheat Ridge, 2-inch diameter hail in Denver.
Some are measured by how much it costs to clean up.
Weather geeks, climate geeks, we love to unpack all of it.
Becky Bollinger knows a thing or two about hail.
I would like to think so.
The former assistant state climatologist was there in 2019 to record one of the biggest hailstones ever found here.
Yeah, well, Russ measured it and I stood there and watched and took a picture. And
She's been tracking disasters in Colorado for decades and often relies on info from a NOAA database database that shows the cost of extreme weather events.
I think it's a super big deal.
Today, Becky found out that database will no longer be updated.
Yeah, I think this decision essentially comes down to anything that really has the word climate in it is kind of being targeted. I can say that being a climate scientist myself, that this is something that we're seeing across the board. Pretty much anything that says climate, it's getting put under the microscope.
From hail to fire to winter storms, the data shows Colorado has seen 76 separate billion-dollar disasters since 1980, one of the highest totals in the country. Becky is worried Coloradans will feel the impact more than most.
It's really going to make it harder to know what events we need to prepare for, what areas are at risk for certain events, and we will feel the loss of that.
Thanks, Evan. In a statement, NOAA said it would archive all past reports from 1980 to 2024 and make them available to the public. On Wednesday, May 7th, the Chabot Cares team held their annual Suicide Awareness Walk for the 5th year in a row. Students, staff, and a host of community organizations came together to make the event happen. Cole Wagner reports.
Dozens of Chabot students and staff gathered around the football field to raise awareness for suicide prevention.
We found out there's about a quarter of our students at some time have thought about suicide in some way or another. And we know that our community's in pain, and there's a lot of external challenges folks are facing today more than ever.
Suicide is still a huge problem, especially we've found the research shows that college-age students are usually the ones who are more susceptible to suicide.
The event, hosted by the CARES team, featured workshops, free food, a drum circle, and an open mic for anyone to voice their thoughts and feelings around mental health.
Yeah, I think today's event is really important because suicide awareness and prevention is critical. There's a lot of mental health issues that sometimes our communities aren't comfortable talking about or being a part of.
We brought today the drum because the drum speaks that louder voice, and the drums actually is a symbolic of the heart. And we think the heart is what is missing in our community.
Over 35 community organizations were present, arranged around the track so that folks in attendance could visit them all.
We gotta be open and understand that it can happen to us when we reach a point that life had become really difficult. And so we try to, promote this event so people normalize that, like, hey, it's okay not to be okay.
First year experience is basically we work with the new oncoming students from high school or just anybody coming into the school for their first year. So we know that there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of anxieties, a lot of things going on with the mental space.
Central is involved because we understand that this is also a topic that impacts the Latinx community, and then Central serves, while we focus on Latinx and low-income students, we also serve Chabot at large. All of our services are offered in English and Spanish, and so we thought it was important to come out here also to just share that English and Spanish bilingual support.
The event was structured to represent a village, a community, and a place where anyone can ask for help. Some people in attendance even had a message for anyone who might be struggling.
I just hope they understand that they aren't as isolated as they may think they are.
And that they feel knowing that they're valued as a community member, as a person, as a student, all of those pieces, regardless of, their identity or what languages they speak.
You're loved in many ways, and someone is actually looking at you and hoping that you achieve your dreams and goals.
Like they're not alone. Right, that they have choice in life. Because sometimes we get confused in different ways, but there's always paths and folks could help us kind of unconfuse. Some folks might think that their body needs to die, and maybe something does need to die, but it's not necessarily, or it's not their body. So we can support them in understanding that, and then we can compost whatever needs to die so that something else can be reborn.
Reporting for Chabot News, Cole Wagner.
Thanks, Cole. Any students who may be struggling with mental health are encouraged to reach out to the CARES team on campus in Building 700, Room 708. You can also find resources for crisis support at chabotcollege.edu/mental health. In Kansas, some Wichita Public School students won't have to worry about lunch debt keeping them from walking across the stage on graduation day. That's because the district just received a $10,000 donation to help pay off that debt. Sydney Ferguson shows us how the donation will help hundreds of students.
They can take that stress off and not have to worry about paying off a lunch.
Every day, Wichita Public Schools' nutrition department is responsible for preparing and providing 50,000 meals to students, whether they can afford them or not. Wichita Public Schools nutrition director David Paul says it's a big job, but it's made easier when organizations step in to help students pay off debt.
The donation is a really big deal. We think it's going to be great to alleviate some of that stress from our students that are going to be graduating here pretty soon.
TGC Group delivered a $10,000 check to the district to go directly toward the lunch debt of graduating seniors after learning students with outstanding debt are not allowed to participate in graduation.
We hate to see kids that are struggling and, it's not their fault.
The district didn't say how much debt seniors have specifically, but it says there are currently $330,000 worth of lunch debt across the entire district. They estimate the money will be able to help between 200 and 300 seniors.
If the highest owing student has a very big amount, we might take part of that so that we can apply some to everyone.
Paul says the inability to pay lunch debt has been a problem since he started with the district 35 years ago, but it isn't just lunch debt. On April 24th, Cake News spoke with USD 259 Communications after learning the Wichita West High Alumni Associations stepped up to pay outstanding fees for seniors, also to ensure they could participate in graduation.
Some it may be lunch, some it may be textbook fees, some it may be something else. It varies.
The district says when students and families are unable to pay these costs, it has to pull that money from other programs.
We're just trying to be the best stewards of taxpayer dollars.
Paul attributes the inability to pay to life circumstances, but says the district is offering families payment plans as a long-term solution. They believe it's helping, but they also rely on groups who want the best for district seniors.
Be able to go on to college or go on to whatever their next goal is for life and not have to worry about a balance paid off for lunch.
Thanks, Sydney. The district says a giving tree on its website allows anyone to make a donation. Those seniors also have the option to donate any remaining funds in their accounts to other students. You scream, I scream, we all scream for Pop-Tarts? Yup, the popular pastries made for your toaster are moving to your freezer. Pop-Tarts parent company Kellanova has unveiled Pop-Tarts ice cream sandwiches. They feature 3 ice cream flavors layered between what the company calls flavored-filled pastry-style ends. The Pop-Tarts freezer aisle expansion also includes pints of ice cream in 3 flavors. We sent a reporter, Susan Gonzalez, out onto campus to find out what Chabot students' favorite Pop-Tart flavors are.
My favorite Pop-Tart is probably either s'mores or strawberry. Those are my go-to.
It'd probably have to be, I think it's brown sugar cinnamon, I think it's called, because when I was a wee lad, my favorite oatmeal still is brown sugar. And I like conformity, not trying new stuff, and it reminds me of that. So therefore, that's my favorite one.
Probably frosted wild cherry, just because I like cherries in general.
Thanks, Susan. We'll just have to wait and see if the new ice cream flavors make it up there. Kellanova said the sandwiches will be available starting this month at Walmart stores. The ice cream pints will be released later this summer at select retailers. That's all for Chabot News this week. Thanks to all the students and staff in the Mass Communications Department here at Chabot College for making this production possible. You can watch us anytime online at youtube.com/ChabotTV. Stay tuned to KCTH Channel 27 on Comcast for more Chabot TV.